So this is the August 12, 2019 People's Forum. While the City Council and County are on vacation, things are still not fixed and need to be fixed. And there are issues that people come here to talk about, even though there's no open mic. There's no open mic because City Council's on vacation, but we're not on vacation.
Okay, hi, my name is Dan Puglio, and I just wanted to say that the City Council and its payroll tax can kiss my ass. That's all.
So my name is Lonnie Douglas. I'm with the Eugene Springfield Solidarity Network, and today I'm here to talk about IP, or Initiative Petition 39, the Oregon People's Rebate. This is a $750 rebate that will go to every Oregonian. It will be on the, when we get the signatures, it will be on the ballot in 2020. It is, so basically a family of 4 would get $3,000 every year. This rebate will dump into local communities throughout Oregon, basically the entire state, about $3 billion into the state of disposable income that would be leaving the state otherwise with the largest corporations. In Lane County, it will actually drop $183 million annually into the local economy to be spent in small businesses by people. So a family could buy new tires for their car, you could put a deck on your house, or you could just spend it on pizza and hot wings for, you know. This rebate is actually paid for with a very modest 2.5% increase in the minimum corporate tax on the largest corporations on their earnings, their income over $25 million. It does not affect local small businesses, except that it pulls more money into the community that will be spent in those businesses. And we believe that this is a radically progressive grassroots initiative that we believe will hold the largest corporations that are getting a free ride basically in our economy, we'll hold them accountable and have them paying their fair share. So we hope that if you see signature gatherers out there, you will sign the petition. We're getting our first 1,000 signatures. If you want to work on the campaign, you can go to opr2020.org, and hopefully we'll change the way we tax the large corporations in Oregon. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carol Shear, and I'm here to talk about global warming, which I'm sure you're all really caring about. And one of the measures that's not been addressed very much about, but is also very important, is regenerative agriculture. It's a way of sequestering soil, carbon in the soil, using small and medium-sized farms primarily. So if you work well with the soil, you will grow carbon in the soil, as opposed to industrial farms that are using huge equipment and has the carbon go up into the air, and then they need to use chemicals and fertilizer and more water. So sequestering soil, carbon in the soil is very powerful because it builds carbon in the soil and keeps it there, and it also, with small and medium-sized farms, is close to market, so that means there's less emission of carbons taking the product to market. Additionally, we're going to have a longer growing season, and we're also going to have a more hospitable climate than other areas in the nation. So we're going to be where refugees are going to come. So we're going to need to feed them. We're going to need to employ them. And so these small and medium-sized farms are a way to employ people. It's a way to reduce the needs of services for people as they are employed. It also keeps money closer to home in that it's not going out to some foreign corporation far away, and it's being held in our community by the owners of the farms, by the people that work in our farms. So the crops are healthier, there's more quantity. The water is more pure because chemicals are not used for the most part. There's less fertilizer that's used, so there's not emissions into the air that's harmful from the fertilizers. And we use less water for that type of farming because the soil is healthier. So there are some good organizations already going strong, and it is somewhat becoming a popular thing to do across the world and the nation. we need to do more of it here because we're going to be a mecca for people that are going to have needs escaping from the climate. So one of the state organizations that's nonprofit is called Oregon Climate and Agricultural Network. So go on the internet and find out about it. It helps people address the climate and also build better soil so we can do the small and medium-sized farms. And also go on the internet and look at regenerative agriculture and learn about it because it's going to be one of the most important things we can do for ourselves. Thank you.
Ready, set, go.
Hey everybody, my name is Wayne Martin. I'm a retired pastor and have been working with folks here in Eugene on various projects regarding, well, starting off with Opportunity Village and then moving on to another organization called Nightingale, which was Nightingale Health Sanctuary, and now it's Nightingale Hosted Shelters. I'm a frequent appearer at council meetings and also city and also Board of Commissioner meetings. And I wanted to let you know that a group of people have been meeting this summer with Peter Siobhan. Peter Siobhan is the designated city interpreter and planner for the TAC report implementation team. Peter's proven to be a really accessible person, a good listener, a good communicator, and somebody who genuinely likes people. So we've had 4 meetings at the Toaster Church, about 2 weeks each apart, and we went from 19 the first week to 24, and then 32, and finally 35. So there's a growing interest in the dialogue, but also Peter has offered some part-time work opportunities to unhoused people to do street outreach and to do some interviewing and gather information. And in the group that we've been gathering, there's more and more interest in that. Next week, when Peter gets back from his vacation, on Wednesday of next week, he'll be setting up a training program there at the Toaster Church, the First Methodist Church. My major announcement tonight is that on this Thursday from 4 until 5:15, we're having a larger than usual gathering of unhoused people as well as folks who live safely in homes. And we want to engage in a full dialogue with breakout groups led by unhoused people. We are finding that we have a big talent pool, and we want them to have a chance to stretch their skills and, in a sense, make a statement. Hey, don't ask us to join things, ask us to help lead things. I would love it if all of you could be there. It starts at 4. If you want to bring some snacks, that would be appreciated. It's at the Toaster Church, 13th and Olive. And that's it. Any questions? The date is Thursday, August 15th. Any other questions?
What's the training about?
The training is the following week when Peter returns, and it's to help people gather the orientation and the training they need to be able to work part-time jobs for the city in the area of outreach and information gathering. Yeah, we've been talking about that at these meetings, and application forms were taken home, they were filled out. It looks like we have about 15 people now that are really interested. They would be working 3-hour shifts, so maybe as many as 3 3-hour shifts a week. We want to make sure everybody who signs up has an opportunity to work a few shifts. I'm excited about it, and it wasn't even my idea. So I'm thrilled. It's better when it isn't. Yeah, Carol?
People want to know more about it. How do they find out more?
They can come on Thursday and find out more.
Can't come out.
Oh, if they can't come out on Thursday, they can contact me. My information is justwayne1154@gmail.com. And my phone number is 831-601-0022. Yeah, I welcome all calls, all inquiries, and we just want to get as many people right now talking to each other, listening to each other, and actually getting to know each other. As many people as eat at the dining room, what we're finding there is that the relationships aren't really growing or building as much as they are when we meet like this. So thank you, Sabra, for coming to one of those meetings and for observing and taking it all in. You can see it can be tricky, but it's pretty impressive, and I don't feel as though it's due to anybody's skills. It's just due to the fact that we're together and we're giving it time to grow. Well, thank you all, and we'll see ya.
I came to talk about the housing crisis for people who don't make a lot of money. There are many people in Eugene, including public officials, who don't really believe that there's a housing problem, and that's beyond the scope of what I can talk about. But there are 36,000 people living in Eugene on less than $1,000 a month, and they can afford about $300 a month of rent. And if you could have a $50,000 house, then your mortgage would be about $300 a month. So what we need to have is a whole lot of housing that has to be created, that has to be somehow materialized, that costs less than $50,000 per unit. And so enough on that particular problem. But the problem is growing worse and worse, and this causes homelessness. It causes broken families. It causes economic stress, and it causes runaway kids and runaway fathers, and it breaks down society, basically. And so that's what's the conveyor belt that causes homelessness. And so what I want to talk about is policy. There's such a thing as policy, and policy is a systematic set of principles that guides the formation of regulations, ordinances, such as Eugene's infamous anti-housing ordinances, which makes it impossible to build anything cheap. Tiny houses, RVs in the yard, all these sorts of things, that people could do if they were allowed by the city to house themselves. So I wanted to address some of the underlying principles that our policymakers use when they make policy. And they have an incredible privilege, and they just go on month after month in the boards and commissions, just scratching their chin and deciding what are the principles. And one of them is that people who have houses, for example, have a right to say what's going to go on in the neighborhood around the land that they own. And so, of course, they all vote, right? That we're not going to have any poor people, we're not going to have people of color, we're not going to have any, we're not going to have liquor stores and rendering factories and things. But basically, they have locked up it's all up and down the West Coast, and that's why the legislature finally had to pass HB 2001, which removed from cities the power to have R1 single-family zoning, because there was just no way that these cities were going to reform themselves. It's a lot like New York and Washington. That system is not going to reform itself, So anyway, I just want to close with some observations about what happened here in the plaza here with the God, Guns, and Trump rally, which was really, really rich. And I hope that as many of you, think about that. But I talked with several of the God and Guns people who were able to have extended conversations. And one of the things we were able to communicate was they just said, America's great, capitalism is great, it's called freedom, and that's what made this great country as great as it is. And so I said, well, I've been a CPA for 25 years, and one thing about capitalism and markets is that you and I can make a deal. We can buy and sell things from each other as principal parties, but that has an impact on other people besides us. And that's not in the Constitution. There's nobody protecting all the other people, the amounts of pollution that you create or the impact of your activities on other people. So there's nothing in the Constitution except freedom. And so just because you're happy with your deals, that doesn't mean that everybody else is happy. So I feel that their attitude is infantile. I think that they're just trying to, they're not only willfully neglecting the interests of other people that are caused by their activities, their driving and their businesses, but they don't want to be accountable. They want to have unaccountable freedom. And so that's a lot like the problem of externalities of housing. Your owning of a house, like I think half of us here own a house or have our home. our occupying of some land has an externality impact on people who don't have land, because we've just locked it all up and down all the blocks, and there's no land that you can get. And that is an externality that's imposed on the homeless. Now, they have a human right to exist. They have a human right to exist on the earth. It's something to do with gravity, I think. You know, you have a body and it keeps coming down on the earth somewhere. And so that's kind of the frame. That's one of the underlying policies, you know, that has to, or principles of our policy framework, which is embodied in the housing and justice system that we have today. The housing and justice system is the embodiment of existing policy, and that's got to change. It has to change at the philosophical level. Thank you.
Okay, so I am doing this for the first time and I am pretty nervous about standing in front of a camera. Hi, folks. And I'm not really sure exactly what I want to say. There's 1,000 different things I could say, and most of them have fled out of my head because I'm nervous. So what I'm going to start with is something really simple. It echoes what Todd was saying. We all have a human right to exist, to live on the earth. And because of the way that our system of government and land use has been set up over the last 200 plus years, there are lots and lots of people for whom there is no functional place. Now, even not so many years ago, back in the 1970s, it was a lot easier for people to get by. And if you moved to a new town and you needed to find a job, well, you'd probably slept in the park until you found a job and worked long enough to get an apartment or a room somewhere. And once you had a room somewhere, then things often went okay. But if you messed up, there was no such thing as a credit report, really, that followed you everywhere. So you could go someplace new and start over again. And lots of people did that. Lots of people I know did that. Lots of people I know who are grandparents now with grandchildren that are almost adults did that. They messed up several times before they got it right. And there was room to do that, and there isn't anymore. The first 2 steps up out of the gutter are missing now. I read the other day that in Eugene, the median rent is now over $1,500 a month. Now, we all know that some of that is due to the expense of large residences in the South Hills. They bumped that number up a little bit. But a lot of people that I know that are renting in the lower levels of rentals have said that their rent is going up $200, $300, sometimes even as much as $500 a month in the last couple of years. That means that most of the people that I know are one bad illness away from becoming homeless. One bad illness, a parent in trouble that they need to help stay in their housing, any number of things can cause one of us and more of us to get swept into the street. I don't hold a lot of hope for changing policy quickly enough to make a difference with most of the people that I know. It's still worth doing because the next group of people that I don't know yet will still need it. But we need to come up with a way that can help the people that are being swept away now. And to do that, we're going to have to get really creative and look at examples in places like Oakland, California, and London, England, and all those places where we think people are doing better than we are. And in some sense, they probably are. And they may have some ideas, some tools, some stuff to work with that we don't. There's a real estate investment cooperative in East Bay, Oakland, California, that's really worth looking at. There's several other projects. And next time, I can tell you more about that. But in the meantime, I'd suggest that you look up East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative for inspiration. And also, right here in town, there's the East Blair Housing Cooperative. And these are places that people have put together money to buy property that is then owned by the group as a whole, so that people who don't have very much money can still become residents. Kind of like what they do with student co-ops, but for anyone who doesn't mind having neighbors. Many of the co-ops have extra support to help people learn to get along better. Some have a little more distance so that people don't have to get along quite as well. Maybe they only meet once a month or 4 times a year. There are ways that people can cooperate to house each other. And there are also ways that people can cooperate to employ each other. And we need to explore all those alternatives, because things are not going to get better, and they're going to get a whole lot worse, especially if we do nothing.